Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lizzie. I'm a youth services specialist at Dauphin County Libraries. And today we are we have Courtney Ryder in from Hamilton Health Center's HOPE program. She's going to be presenting a series on menstrual health and hygiene throughout this month. So this is the first program in that, the first day where it's talking about menstrual health products. And that's, yeah, and Courtney, take it away.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. I'm so excited to be here. Again, my name is Courtney Ryder. I work for the Hamilton Health Center in Harrisburg, PA. I work for the HIV and Reproductive Health Department. So my job is to go around and share education about our bodies with our community. So I'm really glad that you folks are here and gonna benefit a lot from this program. So let's hop right into it. We have a good bit of content that I hope will be beneficial to you that you can use right now. So we're going to discuss all the different products that exist for menstrual hygiene and how to use that as a teenager. So first things first, it's very important that we understand that this topic might be uncomfortable for some of us, and that's okay. What I want you to remember is that whatever experience you're going through is valid and important, and whatever experience you do have is not weird or gross or abnormal in any way. So no question is silly or dumb. So if you have questions, please get into contact with myself or with Lizzie so we can answer those questions for you. And just remember that whatever experience you have, it's not up for debate. So whatever you're going through, that's your life, your journey, and we're just here to help support you in whatever way we can. So first things first, we're going to talk about hygiene, just general hygiene and how we can maintain our bodies. So whenever we are showering, it's very important to remember that our genitals really only need washed with some warm water and a little bit of soap. We don't really need to go inside of our bodies in any way and clean anything internally. We just need to keep the outside clean. If you are growing pubic hair, it's important to remember that you can certainly trim that if you like, if it's something that you feel more comfortable doing. Shaving can increase your risk of opening the skin, which can increase your risk for infections. So if you don't have to shave, feel free to not. You can go ahead and trim to whatever length is comfortable for you. Staying hydrated is incredibly important no matter what kind of health topic we're talking about, right? So we want to make sure that we're staying hydrated. I always keep a water bottle with me. If you need a water bottle, we have some at the HOPE program for you. But staying hydrated, eating fruits and vegetables is always a good thing and will help your body remain healthy. We encourage you to wear cotton underwear. This is important just for airflow and sweat. We do all get sweaty. It's a part of life. It's going to be a part of puberty, the more that we sweat as we get older. So don't be afraid to wear the appropriate fabrics, and cotton is the best one to wear for sweat down there. Please be reminded to see a doctor every year. I know that not everyone is able to do this on their own. Usually mom or dad or someone would have to take you to a doctor's appointment. If you are able to see a doctor every year, just to make sure things are okay, that's what we would recommend. And last but not least, we're going to talk all about menstrual hygiene products, and I would encourage you to use a new product. That way you can find one that you really like. It's important to remember that we don't need to use sprays or lotions or baby powder or anything down there on our parts. Again, they are mostly self-cleaning. The only thing we need to do is keep ourselves washed in the shower or bath with warm water and a little bit of soap. We're going to talk a little bit about some parts because obviously when we talk about menstruation, we have to talk about the body parts that are responsible for that. So the body parts that menstruating people have include the ovaries, the uterus, fallopian tubes, the cervix, and the vagina. Starting from the bottom of that picture, the vagina is the entryway from the outside world to the inside of the body. Then going up, you meet the cervix, which is like a door to the uterus. That's the reason that tampons can't get lost anywhere into the uterus. The uterus is where typically babies grow, as well as where our actual blood comes from when we bleed. Our ovaries, we have one on each side typically, and those are what produce eggs. And the tubes, fallopian tubes, we can call them egg tubes. Eggs get transported through there, and those are the parts that are responsible for menstruation. So there are different phases of the cycle. Next lesson, we will talk about each of these individually, but just as a brief overview, there is actually four. We're going to talk just about menstruation today. That's always the very first phase. Anytime someone is on hormonal medications, that will impact those four phases. So if you're on hormone replacement, birth control, or any other kind of medications, they can all kind of mess with this cycle process, okay? So birth control is not something that will regulate your cycle. You will bleed regularly, but these four phases aren't happening because the hormones impact them. Ideally, when we're talking about the cycle, we're talking about the time from that one bleed all the way up until that very next bleed. That's why it's so long. It's usually about a month, but anywhere between 24 and 36 days considered healthy. If you aren't bleeding every month, if you're only bleeding every 3 months, anytime that you're only bleeding every few months, every 3 months or so, you might want to see a doctor and get a little more information on why that's happening. But ideally, you will bleed every 24 to 36 days up until we hit menopause, which is on average around the age of 50. This is just a little fun fact, a little health science fact for you. Menarche, that's the word for your very first bleed. Most people will get their very first bleed between age 8 and age 16. Anywhere in there is normal and everyone's a little bit different. So what is menstruation? What actually is happening? Menstruation is the time that you're actually bleeding. Usually we'll bleed for 3 to 7 days. Again, everyone's a little bit different. So anywhere between those days is normal. It's a vital sign. Having a period regularly or bleeding regularly, monthly, is important because that means we know that all four of those things are happening all the time, every month. It is actually a drop in hormones. So whenever we go through those four phases, our hormones are at their lowest and then we bleed. And then the hormones do their little roller coaster all over again and we end up bleeding, and that's how the cycle continues. Some people, when they're bleeding, experience things that we call PMS or premenstrual syndrome. These can include some symptoms like cramping, headaches, fatigue, cravings for certain foods, digestive issues, tummy upset, as well as overwhelm or feeling really sensitive emotionally. These are all really normal. A lot of people go through these. I just want to let you know that pain of any kind is not to be tolerated. So if you are having a lot of pain where you don't want to do gym class or you don't want to go to school or you don't want to go to work, that's a point where we would say, hey, you deserve to feel really good even when you're bleeding. So don't take pain and suffering as your normal, because there are things you can do to help that, and we'll go over some of those together. Overall, menstruation, most people begin by age 14. Around 90% of people with ovaries will begin by age 14. And again, most people will start between 8 and 12 years old as far as their puberty goes. That's whenever our body actually starts to change hormonally from the inside out. So that's when we start to sweat more, our hair might change, our voice might change, our chest might change. And this happens for a few years. It takes about 4 to 6 years for all of those new things to balance themselves out. So it's a weird time, it's a challenging time. Your body might not feel like yours anymore. But just stick it out, hang in there, take care of yourself as best as you can. I hope some of the tips in here help you take care of yourself as best as you can while you're stabilizing throughout your puberty journey. How are we doing so far? Everyone doing okay? Very good. So there are a lot of fun names that people come up with to refer to menstruation. And I like to use menstruation just because it's the most scientific, and that's what I like to use. Some people will use terms like period or ant flow or shark week, I've heard. So it's okay to have those names with your friends, but make sure that everybody's on the same page. Using menstruation includes everyone. This graphic I really like, and this is something I wish I had when I was a teenager. I think it's really important to know what your products are meant to do for you and how many you might need. A lot of times we aren't given that education to know what to keep in our backpack or in our purse or in our wallet or in our car or whatever. So just keep this in mind. If you want to take a picture of it with your phone, please do. But some things you can expect while you're an active menstruator would be you're going to bleed about 16 teaspoons in that whole week that you're bleeding. It sounds like a lot to some people and not a lot to others. It just depends. We tend to use about 17,000 products in our lifetime. So from the time you go through puberty as a young person up through the time that your hormones start to go away or turn off when we're in our 50s, that's about 17,000 products we're going to use in a lifetime. On the low end, these products cost about $120 a year. If we think of a thing of pads or tampons cost around $10 and we need them every month, then we're spending around $120 a year. Worldwide, so the entire globe, there are a lot of people who are menstruating at any given time, and we throw away about 100 billion products every single year. So it does create a lot of waste. We will talk about some options to help save Mother Earth if we can. And if you're able to purchase some of those products, that would be great so that we're not throwing as many away. Your typical pad that we're used to seeing, those will hold between 1 and 2 teaspoons of fluid, and a tampon can hold 1 to 3 teaspoons of fluid. So a little bit more on a tampon than a pad. I like this triangle graph just because it lets you know how many products you might be using in a day to help you better understand how heavy your flow is. If you have really heavy flow, sometimes we might need to see a doctor about that so that we're not losing too much blood. So if you're using 5 or more products, soaking them every day, and you're changing them at night, that's a heavy flow. That's okay. Some people change their products a lot just to feel a little more clean down there. That's perfectly normal. But if you're soaking these products, which takes about 4 hours to soak a regular product, if you're using more than 5, that is where we will start to be like, okay, this is a little bit too heavy. Might be time to seek some medical support. If you're using between 3 and 5 regular products a day, that would be considered medium. If you're only using 1 or 2 pads or tampons a day, that would be light. And if you're spotting, that's what we call whenever you just see blood when you wipe, or you can have a few drops in your underwear and it's not going to cause any issue. So I did decide to split the products into external products and then internal products. External products are what we wear on the outsides of our body. They don't go in our body in any way. So these are our traditional things we think of, pads and panty liners. There are disposable pads as well as cloth or reusable pads. Those are pictured in the upper left corner. You can buy them in lots of different colors and patterns and absorbencies, and they are a great reusable item if you're someone who's okay with rinsing them out and putting them in with your laundry. They're a great reusable option. Because regular pads that we can buy at the store that have the sticky sides on them and that we throw them away, these take between 500 and 800 years to decompose. So if we are more concerned about protecting our Earth and our planet, it's important to remember that reusable products might be the better option if you can afford them. Period underwear are amazing. They are one of the newest products out there that exist for folks who menstruate. They come in all different styles, shapes, colors for any body, and they can last 10 years. They feel a lot like regular underwear or a little more similarly to bathing suit bottoms. So you can literally just get dressed like you normally would. You don't have to worry about how many products do I need to take with me today? How many products do I need to pack for my trip or summer camp or wherever you might be going? There's no embarrassment in that. You can just literally take your underwear, but they are absorbent and they are good to be worn for up to 12 hours a day. So you can put on a pair of underwear that are meant for that and bleed right into them and then wash them with your laundry. If you want to free bleed, that is a term for folks who don't use anything. They just wear regular underwear. Or maybe they have a light flow and don't have that much worry that things or that fluids will come out onto their clothes or onto wherever they're sitting. If that's an option for you, some people don't like to wear anything. But I would say period underwear and free bleeding are really closely related, and it's all just personal preference. Again, all of these products are sold by absorbency. So the picture of pads there, you see maxi, extra heavy, overnight. So those are for extra heavy overnight. You can definitely spend a lot of time at the store looking at these products. If you are able to purchase organic or compostable products will dissolve or compost within 3 to 6 months. So if you're a little afraid of throwing out that much trash, certain products are able to be composted. We're going to move on to the internal products now. These are products you have to put inside of your body. I know that this can be challenging for us as we're starting to learn our bodies. Touching our own body can be really challenging, can make us uncomfortable, it can make us nervous. That's okay. That's totally normal. For some of us, it can cause some disconnect with how we feel about our body, or maybe we don't really appreciate the parts that we have and we identify another way, and that's totally okay. What I want you to know, though, is that there are options available for you, regardless of how you feel about what's going on down there. So whether you like internal or external, completely a personal preference. So things like tampons go inside. Remember that anatomy picture of the vagina that we talked about has to go inside the body, and they cannot get lost because of our cervix. That keeps our internal organs safe. So you have tampons, which again sold in different absorbencies for how heavy or light you are, which is why it's important to know that pyramid. That way you know where you fall and what products you might need. There are also discs, which are really interesting, something I didn't learn about until recently. They look a little bit big and a little bit scary, but that's okay. Once you're comfortable with yourself and with your parts inside, you can certainly use one of these. These are really great because you can wear them for 12 hours. They sell them in a disposable kind, and they make rubber or latex ones that can be reused, rinsed off and reused every cycle, every month. There's also period cups, which I really like period cups for people, because once you buy one thing, you have enough products for 10 years. You only need to go to the store once. So they are a little more expensive up front. Remember how we said pads and tampons can cost $5 and $10 a pack? Period cups tend to cost a little more than that, anywhere from $25 up to $40 or $50, depending on what brand, size, style, all those fun things that you can choose. I do have a video to play for you about how cups work, and then I'll show you the cups that I have for sample.
Wash your hands in salt cup and make sure to rinse your cup thoroughly. Inserting your cup is much easier when using water as a natural lubricant, so don't bother drying your cup. In fact, putting it in while you're in the shower is a great little trick. Low risk, you can insert your cup while sitting, squatting, or standing with one leg raised. Start by folding your cup in one of the 3 folds: the C fold, the punch down, or the 7 fold. Then insert it rim first into your vagina. Now here's the trick. Slide it in and back at an angle towards your tailbone and not straight up. Once the cup is completely inside, let the cup pop open to create a seal between the cup and your vaginal walls. Your salt cup should be positioned lower than a tampon, but should feel comfortable. So feel free to move it a little higher or lower to where it feels best. The stem can be all the way inside you or partially outside of you. Both are correct. It just depends on where the cup fits most comfortably inside your body. Run your finger around the base of the cup to feel for folds. If you feel any, your cup isn't opened all the way. Then rotate it slightly and give it a little tug to check the seal. Once you check the seal, you're good to go for up to 12 hours.
So I really enjoy that video because they like to make a very good point that putting it in the shower is a great first step. If you are afraid of the mess, certainly the easiest place to go. And it is a lot like a tampon where you can put it in, set it, and forget it. But cups are nicer because you can use them for 12 hours, whereas those tampons can only hold a little bit and you need to change them more regularly. So there are 2 cups here that I have as examples for you. They're typically sold in only 2 sizes. So they're usually sold for people who've had babies and people who haven't had babies. So that's the sizing options you have. So I have 2 to show you. This one is for people that haven't had babies, and this one is for people that have, and they're really not that different in size. They're both perfectly fine to be worn as long as you are comfortable with them in. So in the video, they show you different folds, and I just wanted to re-show them to you because I think they were a little fast. So in the video, they show us the fold where you literally just turn it into a C. There's the punch down fold where you literally take a finger, push one side down, and then you just want to hold on to that. And that's what you would insert. It's really only the size of my fingertip. So it's not much bigger than a tampon. So even though these look bigger than tampons, they really only insert the same way a tampon would. And then once you push that in, it will open up on its own, and you should give it a little swirly and a little tug to make sure it's set in good. You can leave it in again for 12 hours. When you pull it out, usually you can do this on the toilet. Just pull this out, dump it right in the toilet, and rinse it off and reinsert. Between bleeds, so again, remember, you're only going to bleed for 3 to 7 days. Once that's over, this cup, you won't need it for the rest of the month until next month. So what you'll do in between is you will want to clean this really well, and usually you should boil it in some hot water to make sure we killed all the germs that might be left over. This one is a little smaller. And it's different because the end has a little hook on it, a little circle. You can see that, which is a little easier for some people to grab versus the ones that look like a stem or a tampon string. If you do get one with a string, you can cut this as much as you want. Some people even cut them up to the base because they don't like this feeling, and that's totally fine too. You can cut these for your comfort. There are a few other things I want to touch on. Remember how we talked about how some people feel cramps or a headache or tired whenever they're bleeding? Some things that you can use to help you feel a little better can be things like heat, like a heating pad or a hot water bottle. Hot water bottles are good for compression, that weight on your lower tummy. That's where your uterus is, underneath of your belly button. So laying things that are warm there can really help with cramping. You can also, of course, wear really comfy clothes, your loosest pants, your comfiest dress, whatever you want to wear, that can help you feel less crampy. There is something called a TENS unit, T-E-N-S, TENS unit. This is the little radio looking thing in the image with those 2 stickers. This is something you can buy that's practically a tiny little massage device. So you put those stickers wherever you're finding that pain, and you can choose different settings, and it'll give you little zaps to kind of help alleviate whatever pain you're having. I'm not sure on cost of these devices, but if that's something you're interested in, you can just look up TENS and find one online. If you have tried all those things and you still don't feel super great, there are some supplements you can use. Magnesium can be really helpful for cramping, and this is the vitamin that's actually in Epsom salts. So if you want to take a nice bath, you can certainly pour some Epsom salts into a bath, soak for a little while, and that will help alleviate some cramping. And when all else fails, if those things don't work, you can certainly purchase Midol or Pamprin. These are medications that you could buy at any store like CVS or Walmart, and take a medication, the pain pill, and that should help relieve some of those symptoms. So when it comes to choosing products that you like, that you will use, it's always important to consider what they cost, what materials they're made out of. So maybe you like cotton things versus rubber or latex things. Maybe you like eco-friendly products that you don't have to throw away versus things that you throw away. And sometimes it's all about what you have access to, what's at your nearest drugstore, what's in your budget, and that can really help make a decision for you as well as personal preference. I personally love cups. I think they're a great option. If every person that bleeds had a cup from the time they started bleeding, they would only need one product for the next 10 years. And I think that's a really fantastic thing. You'll never be caught without something. You'll always have exactly what you need. Last but not least, I always want to give the power to you. I always want you to be able to make informed decisions on your own. So I have some books here that might help you feel more comfortable with your period. There's a book called Period by 12 Voices. That is a book written by 12 different people, has 12 different experiences in there of folks who bleed. There's also a book called Fix Your Period by Nicole Jardim. You can also find her on Instagram for period education. There's a book called Vaginas and Periods 101, very good starter book. I believe it's even a pop-up image book. So if you're a visual learner, feel free to look for that online. There's a book called No Period, Now What? That's for those who, again, if you're not bleeding every month, once you start, might be a good idea to look into research on that, the books on that, as well as getting a doctor to help you with that. And then The Fifth Vital Sign by Lisa Hendrickson Jack. That's a book that talks all about how the body functions, why we have our periods, why certain things are healthier versus unhealthy, and the signs to look out for so that we know what's our normal and what's our abnormal or unhealthy when we might need to seek support. All in all, the only thing I want you to take from this lesson is to always choose what's best for you, period.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, awesome. That was so informative, Courtney. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, I loved it. Yeah, so those books, I'm not sure if we have them in the library, but I'm sure that I will check. Or we have something similar. I know we have stuff, or we can order those books. So you can grab them at your local library. If you have any questions about what you have seen in this, or maybe something you didn't see and you'd like to see, you can send them either to me or to Courtney. I'll put our emails either at the end of this, or like in a slide, or in the comments if if we're putting this on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, we're not doctors, so we can't like diagnose you with anything, but like if you feel like something is abnormal and you want to like reach out and ask if you think it's abnormal, we can guide you like to what might be right, or guide you to a doctor's consultation, or anything like that, and maybe help find some resources. That's what the library is good for. And I know that's Hamilton Health Center is a really good resource. The Hope program is a really good resource for finding things like that. Keep in mind, next week, so this is May 14th in 2020, 2021. It's too late in the year for me to be saying that. That we're recording this next week on the 21st. Courtney will be leading a presentation on the 4 phases that she mentioned earlier. And then in 2 weeks from now, on the 28th, which is Menstrual Hygiene Day, we will be talking about, Courtney will be leading us again in a presentation on personal values and some consent and sexual boundaries presentations. Everything's super important. And currently in the library, we have a Take One, Leave One menstrual product drive that I'm super psyched about. In every Dauphin County library, there is at least one, probably 2 in each bathroom, little basket of different products. You can take one for free if you need one, or if you want to leave some, you can. I know at Johnson Memorial Library in Millersburg, we've made some little baggies that you can take and go with a little sampling of things and little chocolates in them. And I know I put some cups at Johnson. If anybody's interested in trying out a cup, you can go grab one from there. That's all I have for us. Yeah. So thank you everyone for tuning in to our video, and yeah, hopefully to see you next week.
Thank you. I'll see you next week.